For those of you that don't know me, I'm Sonia Jimenez with Jimenez & Associates, and we are in charge of doing the outreach and the public involvement coordination for this effort. This is the last meeting for the Downtown Transportation Study. We're glad that you could make it. All of this information will be posted to the website within the next few days. It takes a little bit of time to coordinate with the webmaster, but we will get it up there. You should have received a comment card when you came in and registered. You can also submit comments directly through the website, which is noted at the top of the comment card. We do ask, in order to be part of the final public meeting record, that we're going to be doing a public meeting report, please submit those comments by Tuesday, May 8th. I will point out one special thing about the open house. We have it scheduled till 7:30. Depending on how long the presentation goes, we'll stay after to get your questions answered. There is a station out there for Market Street realignment. That is a separate project that is in the bond package, but we wanted to be sure that you had exposure to it today because we will not be doing public meetings necessarily. We'll probably be doing stakeholder meetings and be sending out information through email. It is on a very fast track. The concept that is out there is very preliminary, subject to change based on what's happening with the convention center. So we just wanted to give you an initial opportunity to give feedback before it gets too far along. So if you have any comments about the Market Street project, you can include those in your comment card, and you can submit those through the DTS website as well, and we'll feed those to the team that is doing that project. There is some information over in the open house about the bond project. I encourage you to look at it. It really outlines the entire bond package, proposition by proposition. And as many of you know, early voted started today. It'll be 8 to 6, Monday through Friday. Saturday, 10 to 6. And very uniquely, we are having Sunday early voting, May 6th. So if you don't have an opportunity during the week, maybe possibly during the weekend. And then again, Monday and Tuesday from 8 to 8 p.m. on May 7th and 8th, and then the actual election day is May 12th. The early voting sites are listed inside this brochure, and there is a website that directs you to get more information as well. As I said again, all this information, all of the exhibits will be posted to the website as well as this presentation. NOWCast has graciously agreed to record this for us, and it will be posted up on their website sometime this evening. They weren't able to live stream because some of the constraints here at the library, but it will be available on their website for you to look at if you know somebody that wasn't able to make it, or if you want to look at it again as you're submitting your comments. So, without further ado, oh, one more thing. We will not be taking questions in here. We'll be doing them over in the open house. So if you have a question, jot it down and then get your question answered over there. It's just for time's sakes. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Luis Maltos. He is the project manager from Capital Improvement Management Services with the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. I just want to take one quick minute to thank you guys for your time. In behalf of the City of San Antonio, the SIMS Department, Capital Improvements Management Services, we want to thank you for your participation in the previous meetings. I want to assure you that every comment, every input, recommendation that you've given us the last few meetings have been part of the recommended projects that Paved Austin has come up with. We're excited that the study will be done. Will be coming to an end in a final report format at the end of May. We'll make that available to you through our website, so make sure you get that information. So we're very excited that the project is almost coming to an end, and it's been a very challenging project. If you can imagine, we have people and all city traffic engineers on one side of the table telling us that our downtown roads need to be, made strictly for vehicles. Let's move vehicles 50 miles an hour and get me through downtown. And on the other side, we have other folks with different interests, urban planners that may want to look at the street as a park and no vehicles through my streets. We want to use solely for pedestrians. So we're looking for a very happy medium. And our Paved Austin and their consultants have done a great job of coming up with a very balanced approach to our downtown transportation study. So what you're going to see here tonight is a result of that study. There was what you may see a lot of the projects, a lot of the concepts. All these have a background, which is a traffic analysis. Our main purpose is to not cause any congestion in downtown, but yet allow for development, allow for businesses, allow for a vibrant downtown, and I think each one of you guys may enjoy for the rest of our lives and for our kids' lives. So it's been great being part of this project, and especially having so much input from you guys, and we really want to thank you. And without taking any more of your time, I'm going to ask Carrie Collins. She's Vice President, Traffic Engineer with Pape Dawson, and she managed the project along with her consultants, and she'll give you all the details.
Thanks, Luis. I'm really excited to be here tonight. This is our last and final public meeting, so it's your last opportunity to take a look at what we've come up with. But I think there's some great concepts, and concepts that actually transform the way downtown looks. I'm going to start by talking a little bit about the project and give you some idea of what we've done, and also talk about street typology, where we are on that, and refer to you some of the online survey results that you filled out after the last public meeting. And I also want to go over the bond projects again really quickly, because they're very important. And then I want to show you some of the additional projects that are not bond projects that we've come up with as part of our study. And lastly, Alessandra Galletti with Project for Public Spaces will talk to you a little bit about placemaking opportunities. As far as our project timeline, it was a very fast schedule, and right now we're at the last public meeting. Our final report is due at the end of May. We did a lot of work going into this, especially what Luis was referring to, the traffic analysis, to make sure that we weren't going to do anything that was going to create a problem downtown. We collected 24-hour volumes at 73 locations downtown, 129 peak hour intersection turning movement counts. We collected all kinds of field data about number of lanes, lane designations, widths, geometry, traffic controls, etc. And also on this map, you can see our study area. We have a very large outer study area, and our focus was primarily in the downtown core, which is highlighted in red. All of that information went into our model, which it's hard to see from there, but things that look like little ants on the screen show you part of our model. We actually have a model for the whole of downtown, and all of the improvements that we were proposing, we tested out on the model, and we tested them out cumulatively to make sure that nothing was going to create a problem today or in year 2020. Street typologies. One of the first things that we developed was street typologies, and what we did was we identified 5 street types that could be applied to San Antonio's downtown streets. These are the 5 categories: downtown activity, downtown lifestyle, downtown essential, residential, and principal route. And this table shows the description of each. They're primarily based on the land uses that are currently adjacent to the roadways or are going to be developed in the future. And examples of some of these streets and the categories are in the right column. The principal routes were ones that we identified that serve a primary role of carrying traffic through the downtown. Doesn't mean that we don't still think that we can improve them or create some different amenities along them, but it means that we need to keep in consideration the fact that it is important for traffic purposes. This map shows how we applied those 5 categories of street types to San Antonio's streets in our study area. These are photos of examples of downtown activity street and our typical cross-section, and you can see that it would have on-street parking, street trees, furnishings. This is a downtown lifestyle street, which may or may not have on-street parking, would have a mix of residential and commercial. Downtown essential, which has some truck traffic on it potentially, also some residential and commercial, may or may not have parking. And residential is clearly a neighborhood. It may or may not have parking on one side, would have trees and sidewalks. And the principal route, which would primarily have 4 lanes, possibly have a median for access management purposes. In addition to the 5 street types, we created overlays. Overlays are based on unique characteristics of the roadway, for instance, unique street designs, if there are specific places downtown which should be reflected in that overlay, or special functions of the roadway. And a good example is transit overlay and bike overlays. This is an example of a transit overlay, and you can see on here that we've accounted for the bus shelters, the bus signings, seating areas, trash receptacles, the typical things that you would find along a roadway that had transit service. As I mentioned, our last public meeting was in March, and we had over 100 attendees. We did ask people to fill out comment cards and go online and fill out our survey. I wanted to show you some of the results of that. We asked people to identify top choices for the different categories of streets. And interestingly enough, furnishings, which are benches or cafe seating, and street trees were the top two for downtown activity and downtown lifestyle. The downtown essential street had pedestrian and auto lighting plus improved transit. We also asked you some questions about specific roadways. For instance, on West Commerce Street, we asked, what are the 3 most important changes that you could make? And the top 3 were, again, the furnishings, wider sidewalks, street trees, and pedestrian street lighting tied for 3rd place. On Frio, enhanced crosswalks, pedestrian street lighting, and wider sidewalks. And on Main and Soledad, street furnishings again, street trees, and pedestrian lighting. We also asked a question about, given the choice, would you choose to allocate roadway space for converting a one-way street to a two-way street or using a lane to provide wider sidewalks, street trees, and other amenities? And 84% of the respondents preferred to use a lane for the other amenities rather than converting it from one-way to two-way. Another question we asked, what was your favorite street for walking? And Houston Street topped the list. Alamo and Commerce came in a far second and third. For cycling, it was Alamo Street and St. Mary's and Broadway. Now I want to talk to you about the bond projects. There are 5 bond projects. As Sonia said, the early voting started today. It goes through May 12th. Each of these projects has a specific type of improvement, and I'll describe them to you. Market Street, as Sonia mentioned, the consultant team for Market Street that is just starting the design of it is here tonight, so you have an opportunity to ask them questions. The primary purpose of the Market Street realignment is to reorient Market Street to run parallel with Commerce and to connect with the southbound exit ramp at Commerce. This also provides for some additional connections to the east side, and it allows for the expansion of the convention center. This slide shows a preliminary version of the alignment, which is still subject to change, but it shows the new connections that would be possible as a result of the realignment. You'd have connection to the east side via Commerce and Market and that new connection. You'd also have a connection from the southbound exit ramp to Montana, Cesar, Chavez, and Market. And you possibly would have a connection to the east side and Robert Thompson Center via a two-way operation on Montana, which is something that is being looked at. The second project is Commerce Street, and the limits of that are Santa Rosa to St. Mary's. And what we're proposing on Commerce Street is to remove a lane, that would be the bus-only lane, and to accommodate wider sidewalks, street trees, streetscaping elements, and placemaking opportunities. And I think it's important to point out, as Luis said, that all of these projects from the downtown study are concepts. The only projects that actually have identified funding are the 5 bond projects, and that's if the bond program is voted on and approved. This shows in plan view the proposed concept for Commerce Street. It shows widening of the sidewalks on the north side. This is a cross section, and as you can see that we would gain sidewalk width on the north side, and it shows that you would now have room for street trees, furnishings, and the bus shelters that would, the buses would be in the outside lane, and we would widen that outside lane to 12 feet, where today it's 10 feet. So that would actually be very compatible with the transit service on Commerce. This is a view of Commerce Street, looking towards Cameron Street. It is in the section between Santa Rosa and St. Mary's, and this is what it looks like today. And you can see on the left side of the screen, that's the bus-only lane. And this is what it could possibly look like if we remove that bus-only lane and we widen the sidewalks and we add those amenities that we talked about. Frio Street, between Houston and Cesar Chavez. What we're proposing to do on Frio Street is to restripe the 2 travel lanes in each direction so that we can take some of the width from the inside lane and give it to the outside lane where we can add sharrows. And what sharrows are is it's a wider outside lane that can accommodate bicyclists. And there's a unique pavement marking which is referred to as a sharrow, which we put in that lane, and it helps identify to drivers that there will be bicyclists sharing that lane. And the placement of the pavement marking also helps guide the bicyclists. We would also reduce the median width where we needed to. We would improve the pedestrian crossing that's in front of UTSA and widen the sidewalk to 8 feet where we could. This is a plan view of the concept for Frio. And this is an example of a Sharrow pavement marking. The other project is Main Avenue in Soledad, and the limits of it are from Martin to Commerce. This is a really exciting project in the sense that it really does transform the street. When Main Plaza was put in, Main and Soledad ceased to become through routes, north and south through downtown. As a result, the volumes dropped significantly. Today, there are 7,000 vehicles per day on Main and 5,000 on Soledad. So we saw this as an opportunity to take some of those traffic lanes away and use it for something else. And what we're proposing to do on Main and Soledad is to put in reverse angle parking on one side of the street with bike lanes adjacent to the reverse angle parking, and put parallel parking, curb extensions, streetscaping, street trees on the other side. This is an example of a downtown where traffic lanes were taken away and bike lanes and reverse angle parking and parallel parking were put in its place. And this is an example of one of the benefits of reverse angle parking. Probably the greatest benefit is that the drivers can see the bicyclists when they exit the parking space, and they're not backing into traffic, so that's a definite safety benefit. You can also load your car from the rear instead of standing next to the traffic lane. This is an example of looking at Main Avenue at Chavez, or I'm sorry, at Pecan, looking towards Commerce. This is what it looks like today, and you can see how wide the pavement is. And this is what it could potentially look like if we implemented some of these improvements. And you can see the bike lane and the reverse angle parking. This is the intersection of San Pedro, Main, Navarro, and Soledad, and it's actually very near where we are. And if you've driven through it on the way here, you know that it's very difficult to navigate through. There's a lot of channelizing islands. It's somewhat confusing. When I've driven through it, I've actually feared that I was going the wrong way several times. So we really wanted to try and simplify this intersection and try and remove the driver confusion and improve the safety, and at the same time take advantage of improving the streetscaping and placemaking opportunities that came with it. And you can look at the bottom left or bottom right and see that the intersection currently has a lot of channelized islands. And what we're proposing to do, we actually have 4 options, and there is a board in the other room that you can look at these in closer detail. But what it does is it brings each of those intersection approaches closer to the center of the intersection, and that helps simplify to the drivers of what direction they should be going in. We've also improved on the channelizing and reduced some of the lanes, and as a result, you can see where we have green, we've gained some green space around the intersection. So this is option 1. It's slightly different. Option 2 just moves the channelized island around slightly. Option 3 moves Camden south of the intersection, which improves the operation a little bit. And this is option 4, which is a roundabout, which I think really simplifies the turning movements for people. And it also keeps the bus, all 4 of them keep the bus contraflow lane, but this is easy for buses to navigate as well. The negative with this one is that it requires the acquisition of right-of-way. And this is a view looking to the north towards the church from the south. This is what it looks like today. And this is a rendering of like option 3, where we would gain some green space and potentially create some park area and improve the pedestrian crossings. This is a view of option 4, where it could potentially look like a roundabout with some gateway features and some green space around it. You can see the church in the upper right. And those are the 5 bond projects. And again, they're just concepts at this point. The way the process works is if the voters approve the bond program, then Luis's group will actually hire consultants to do the design, which is the next step. And during the design process, they'll have survey data, so they'll be very detailed, and they'll easily identify what can and can't be built. And the funding that's allocated for those will limit what can be done. The first of our additional projects that we identified as part of our study that I want to show you is Navarro and St. Mary's concepts. And we looked at Villita to Convent. This is the aerial of what it looks like today. And what we're proposing on St. Mary's and Navarro is to remove the bus-only lane. On St. Mary's, we're going to add bike lanes and widen the sidewalks on the east side of the street, and north is to the right. And Navarro, we're going to remove the bus-only lane, and we're going to add Sharrows to the west side and add curb extensions with on-street parking and widen the sidewalks on the east side. This is the existing cross-section on St. Mary's. You can see the 1 bus lane and 2 travel lanes. And this is what we're proposing to do, which is adding the 5-foot bike lane on one side, widening sidewalks on the other, and removing the bus-only lane. And we would leave a 12-foot lane for buses, which could easily accommodate the transit service. On Navarro, the existing cross-section is the same, 1 bus lane and 2 travel lanes. It's one-way northbound. And we're proposing to add parking to one side with curb extensions that could also be compatible with transit, because we could widen those curb extensions wherever we had transit stops. We're proposing a wide outside lane on the other side, which could accommodate cyclists. And this is Flores Street. And we looked at making changes between Old Guilbeau and Market Street. And we're proposing to change the cross-section to a 3-lane cross-section with a center turn lane and a mid-block pedestrian crossing. We're going to widen sidewalks and add curb extensions and on-street parking on one side. And this is the existing street between Old Guilbeau and Nueva. It's 1 lane in the northbound direction and 2 lanes southbound, and there's parking on the east side today. Between Nueva and Market, there are 2 lanes in each direction and parking on the west side. And what we're proposing to do between Old Guilbeau and Nueva is the 3-lane cross-section. The center lane would be a 2-way left turn lane. We would have a mid-block crossing and curb extensions and on-street parking on the east side. Between Nueva and Market, we would have 1 lane northbound, 2 lanes southbound, and curb extensions and on-street parking on both sides of the street. And this is a concept. It's just showing the existing condition of Flores. This is between Old Guilbeau and Nueva. And this is what it could look like. And you can see in the middle is the pedestrian crossing, the mid-block pedestrian crossing, and the parking on the right, on-street parking on the right, and the wider sidewalks. Santa Rosa, we looked at between Nueva and Martin, and currently today it's 3 lanes in each direction with a median. And this is an aerial view of it, and this is what we're proposing to do. We would be taking a lane away in each direction, widening the sidewalks, putting in streetscaping, street amenities, and also adding a bike lane in each direction with a buffer strip. And this is kind of an example of what a bike lane with a buffer strip looks like. This is the cross section. So you can see now we have 2 lanes in each direction. There's a 3-foot buffer strip that separates the bike lane from the nearest travel lane, and then the sidewalks will be wider and improved. This is between Nueva and Martin, and in this section we would keep the turn lanes, and we would have the 2 lanes in each direction, and we would have a sharrow on the outside lane, which would again continue the bike facility, but we didn't have enough room to have a separated bike lane. And this is looking on Santa Rosa at Chavez, looking south. This is between Nueva and Market. This is what it looks like today, and this is what it could look like with 2 lanes in each direction, 5-foot bike lanes with a buffer strip, wider sidewalks, plantings, and streetscaping. These intersections, a lot of you are probably really familiar with, especially people that are from outside of town. You get off the expressway, and you have a sign that tells you to exit at Houston Street to get to the Alamo. So you exit at Houston Street, and you go through the first intersection, which is a 5-legged intersection at Houston, Star, Bowie, and I think that's the first dot on the right. And then you continue along Houston Street, and you come to these 2 very closely spaced intersections between Houston 3rd and Bonham. And you try to make your left turn because you see the Alamo to the left, but it says no left turn. And that little block of Houston is actually 1-way eastbound. So you continue north and try and find a way to turn around. So what we're proposing to do to try and remove some of that confusion for drivers is to create 2 roundabouts at both of those intersections. And those 2 roundabouts would give an opportunity to create a gateway for the Alamo area, and it would also allow drivers to easily find the Alamo and make a left turn on Houston. We are proposing to make that 1 block of Houston the same as the rest of Houston, which would be 2-way. So now drivers could actually turn left and reach the Alamo. This is an example of what it potentially could look like if there were a roundabout at Houston 3rd and Bonham. And this is looking west towards the Alamo. The Alamo's in the top left portion of the screen. And again, this would take away left turns at that intersection. you would actually go around the roundabout to make your left turn. So roundabouts are a lot safer than traditional intersections because you don't have the potential for angle accidents. Another place where we're proposing a roundabout is the intersection towards the south. It's St. Mary's, Navarro, and Nueva. It's a 5-legged intersection also, and it's near Hemisphere Park, La Villita, and Riverwalk. These are examples of options that we developed that show a traditional roundabout on the left, and in the event that a streetcar was on Nueva, we wanted to make sure that we could actually accommodate the streetcar going through the center of the roundabout, and we show that we have enough space that it could still be a possible option there. The Torch intersection. This is another interesting one for people to try and navigate, and it's especially difficult for pedestrians to try and find a way to cross. If you look at the existing aerial on the left, it shows that there are 2 or 3 pedestrian crossing locations, and you're really not supposed to cross to the middle of it, and you're not supposed to cross to where the torch sculpture is located. So it's very difficult for drivers to figure out where they're going, and it's extremely difficult for pedestrians to cross. So we actually looked at several options. Each of them have different patterns associated with them. Some of them improve the pedestrian crossings more than others. This is option 1, and what it does is it reroutes Lozoya traffic from the left side of the torch to actually being 2-way in that block between Lozoya and Alamo along Commerce. And this creates an additional pedestrian plaza area, which you can see right here. So we get a little expansion of that. And it moderately improves the pedestrian crossings, but it would require relocating the sculpture, which would be very difficult to do. This one is similar and costly. You can go back and change your dots, Joan. So, this is option 2. This is similar to the other one. It's a right angle also, and it actually creates more pedestrian plaza area. It doesn't require the torch sculpture to be moved. Excuse me. And it does significantly improve pedestrian crossings. However, it would require Lozoya and Alamo to be reversed, and the bus contraflow lane on Alamo would be open to the public. That would also require that Crockett be reversed between Lozoya and Alamo. So the southbound traffic that's traveling down Lozoya would make a left on Crockett and then continue down Alamo, which is how we were able to take them out of the intersection. This is option 3. It actually keeps the traffic patterns most closely to what they are today, but it doesn't improve the pedestrian crossings as much. So it actually keeps the operation very similar. We do gain a pedestrian refuge island right there. So it's better than what it is right now. This is option 4, and it reverses Lozoya and Alamo one-way traffic, similar as before. It doesn't improve pedestrian crossings, and it doesn't simplify the intersection as well as the others, but it still requires Crockett to be reversed, but it does not require the torch intersection to be relocated. So this one actually doesn't change as much. We're removing this movement here, which helps somewhat, and this movement right in here. So each of these has its pros and cons and costs associated with them. So we'd like your input. So after the presentation, you can go back into the exhibit hall and make some additional dots. At this point in time, I'm going to bring Alessandra Galletti up. She's going to talk to you a little bit about placemaking opportunities associated with projects, and she is with Project for Public Spaces. Alessandra.
I fell in the same hole. Okay, good evening. My name is Alessandra Galletti. I work for a nonprofit organization, Project for Public Spaces in New York. And our mission is to create spaces where people can enjoy their streets or their plazas, etc. So we start looking at all the projects that Carrie just presented. Part of those projects from you know, the community point of view and what can be done on the sidewalks and etc. So one first project that we looked at is the Main Avenue and Soledad, where we identify few areas where activities could happen. You know, because in addition to narrowing the streets and having more sidewalk, what can be done to have, you know, create lively, you know, streets downtown. So number one, in the yellow bubble, there are the cross street like Pecan and Travis and Houston, where street sidewalk activity could happen, like maybe like a market, book market, or food trucks where people can have lunch with tables and chairs, etc. And other, you know, where you see the number 2, we also identify on Main Avenue a park, the existing park where additional activity could happen. You can have you know, games like a kiosk with games to play in that park. And number 3, where the number 3 is, you know, the extra wide sidewalk could accommodate additional food trucks or you know, tables and chairs for lunch crowd. Also, very important, we identify the connection to the Riverwalk on along Travis Street, and so, you know, should become like a commercial, have like businesses at the corners to, you know, make the Soledad you know, a busier street. The next project that we looked at from the placemaking point of view is San Pedro, Main, Navarro, and Soledad intersection that is just outside here. You know, there is a wonderful park. I mean, now it's not wonderful, but there is a wonderful possibility of a park that can be used by the community, by the library. You know, we identify number 1 as possibly an area where the library could expand. We developed only one of the 4 schemes that the engineer developed, because we like this one better with the Camden Street. That could become close if there is like an event, for example, a wedding at the Christian, Central Christian Church, or if there is an event at the park. Then this road, this street can be closed and the traffic maybe go, you know, in another route. So let's go and look at the details. So in the park, we can have like a play area for kids, reading rooms, you know, where maybe some events can happen from the library. There can be readings. There can be like a library book shelf where you can go and pick up a newspaper and read it in the park. And they do this in Bryant Park or in other library around, you know, the United States. Then the park could also have kiosks to support all these activities. Maybe you can get a coffee, and then sit there. Then the church square that will be just in front of the church should be protected a little bit from traffic. So in the future can become maybe a square where events could happen, either related to the church, concerts, and you know, where, you know, people can get together, the neighborhood can get together. We looked at the north and west library edges that now they're quite bare. And you know, we think that adding trees, widening sidewalk, and mainly add something so you can see that this is the main entrance is quite important, because coming from outside, for example, it seems like, you know, the library entrance is not marked enough, and maybe softened with green. Maybe we put vendors outside, With this new roadway configuration, so it's also the opportunity to have pocket parks, like this green space in front of the office building could also become a place where there are picnic tables for lunch, or people can just go and rest. There is a high school here, there are many other offices. So in addition to the Romana Park, it seems like it's almost the same size with this new configuration. It's a good opportunity for another pocket park. As well as this one up here, it could become like a gateway to the area and have like art, public art. This whole district should be connected also to the Riverwalk down there and the art school, the Ursuline Institute. And also this rendering shows, in an idea, again, it's not a design idea, just how, the library should become like a much softer edge, attracting people in, and the connection to the park is quite important. Another area that we look at is the Houston street corridor, the gateway to the Alamo and the gateway to downtown. So number 4 is we identify as the gateway to the Alamo, and 5, the gateway to Commerce Street and downtown. Very important is, Houston Street should be narrowed, but also we think that should become almost a shared street where the Emily Morgan hotel can expand and have seating areas outside. Actually, this is not that. Hold on a second. This is the Emily Morgan hotel with seating area. This is a shared street, so it's a traffic calm. It's very slow, and the Alamo Wall can have seating, and the gardens can come out. So that's to give also residents, not only visitors, a place where to go for the evening. We envision Houston Street to become something like these 2 images. One important thing is the Alamo should have like a face along the gateway roundabout. So maybe they were talk about having a future museum. Maybe the museum, if there is a museum at this entrance, this is Houston Street, maybe you should have like an entrance for that. Yes.
On the previous presenter, she was showing a traffic plan there, and they removed, I don't know if you can go back and get her slide or not, but they didn't show a connection from the roundabout all the way to the Crockett Hotel, number 3. So the only thing I'm noticing is you did. You want it to be connected.
Yes. Because in reality, yeah, that is the main access to the Alamo, because people will not even we don't use Houston because it doesn't lead to the parking as of now. So this is what people currently are using for. But we think that this street should be really very calm and shared. So even if you arrive this way, because that's the way that you arrive now to the Alamo, and then you go and park here, it needs to be really very, very calm. And also we think it should be kind of recreated the Camino Real feel, so know that you are, on the same historic route as, in the past.
In this case, I'm going to agree with you a lot. So I'd like your traffic engineer to make space in her plans.
Yeah, we are working together. This is just...
just didn't show on your slide.
Yeah, but I actually I'm showing this very quickly because I know that has been a long presentation, but after we will be in the other room, and I will like, to collect comments. This is just on top of the engineering slides. It's not we are proposing anything different. We prefer certain solutions that also we agree with the engineers among, for example, the 4 solutions. There is one that we do prefer. It might not be possible, I don't know, but anyway, this street here, yes, needs to be shared. It is very important. Again, here we wrote future development. Now is a huge parking lot, but in the future, because of this #1 Houston Street being a principal route, we feel that in the future it could become like a site for development. Going forward to the next, so I was saying that the entrance to the museum, if it happened on this square, on this roundabout, it will really attract people. People know, okay, this is where I'm supposed to go, and then they go to the parking. Right, these are images. We imagine this Shea Street with like a very comfortable furniture, very lush planting, coming out of the Alamo. The Alamo wall is a little bit stark, so it needs to have all that green coming out and soften the edges. And as well, you see that there is a lot of trees, because we do believe that they contribute to placemaking, because people in the summertime in San Antonio cannot really be outside if, without the shade. So then this gateway to the Alamo, we believe that should have some kind of place where you meet each other and be very, very comfortable, with chairs and, in arrival point. Another intersections that we look at is the torch. We selected one of the 4 solutions that the engineer suggested because we want people to have more space. That's the reason. We don't comment on the circulation, but practically, this is commerce, that's market, but this is all pedestrian, and we identify destinations in this torch area. For example, #1 needs to become a gateway to the Alamo. So when you arrive, for example, from down here and you go up, you say, oh, okay, that's where the Alamo is. So this is where history and art will meet. There could be like a history walks that they start from here. So anyway, it is a very, very important area. This torch plaza could become an area for gatherings, concerts, art, events, and a main entrance to the Riverwalk. What about having like a terracing down and have like cafes up? For example, up here have like a kiosk, like a place where you can go and get food, and in a garden environment. So I'm going to show you quickly the details of this. Like, this star represents, like a visible entrance. Now there is an entrance to the Riverwalk, but what about opening that up? So there is a relation, and this is a place where you have a relation between down the water and up the street level. So it is, a very important component, the Riverwalk. What else? The next slide is showing other 2 areas, that is, the entrance to the Riverwalk, but also up here is a very beautiful bridge. Maybe there could be like markets, you can be tents, it's a market street, you can have tents, and so you have, again, a relation between the water and, the street level up here. And also on this corner, West Market and the Alamo, in the future, the hemisphere entrance will get, at this point, what about having an information kiosk that can organize and how people finding their way to the Alamo, to the Riverwalk, and, to whatever else is happening downtown. We think, and also this corner of the Hilton should contribute to create a place. What about the Hilton having a terrace out here, the bus stop being enhanced with seating and, more pleasant, because now people are leaning a little bit on the beautiful bridge, but, having chairs and benches. Also this other Riverwalk entrance is really aligned with this walk. So it could be enhanced as well. So there are 2 major entrances to the Riverwalk in this location. This sketch that we did coming from Hemisphere Park. So it should become like a very green and you know, fun place to be with a lot of things happening. I think we are done. These are just a few ideas, and I would love to answer all your questions in the other presentation room.
Carrie said the website is on there. It is on your comment card as well. We understand it was a tremendous amount of information to take in. So please take your time in commenting. We'll stay here. It's 7:15, a little bit between, it's about 7:18. We'll stay here beyond 7:30 if you all want us to. So we direct you to go into the gallery to get your questions answered, and please get your comments in by May 8th. Thank you so much for your time.